Kaylee Hottle, the voice that tamed Godzilla, she was only 18. She'd already made history. At just 12 years old, she stood on a film set opposite a 100-meter-tall CG monster and held her own without saying a single word out loud. By 16, she'd done it again, becoming one of the most quietly powerful young performers in modern blockbuster cinema. On 21st July 2026, Kaylee Hottle passed away at the age of 18, following a car accident in Frederick County, Maryland. This is the story of a trailblazing young actress whose life was cut tragically short, and the community of family, friends, and fans now mourning her. Born into a family of storytellers, Kaylee Hottle was born deaf into a family with 4 generations of deafness on her father's side, a rich, close-knit deaf community background that shaped her from the very beginning. She grew up in Kyle, Texas, and eventually enrolled at the Texas School for the Deaf in Austin, where she was working toward graduating as a senior at the time of her death. Long before Hollywood came calling, Kaylee was simply a young girl growing up fluent in American Sign Language, surrounded by a family and community that understood the power of communication in all its forms. That background would go on to shape one of the most quietly groundbreaking casting decisions in recent blockbuster history. The role that made her a trailblazer in 2021, at just 12 years old, Kaylee was cast as Gia in Godzilla vs. Kong, a young orphaned girl and the last surviving member of the Iwi tribe, who communicates primarily through sign language and forms a deep bond with Kong throughout the film. The casting wasn't just a creative choice. It represented real, meaningful representation for deaf audiences in one of the biggest franchises in modern cinema. And Kaylee brought a naturalism and emotional depth to the role that resonated with audiences far beyond what anyone might have expected from a monster movie. She reprised the role in 2024's Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, further cementing Gia as one of the more emotionally grounded characters in the entire MonsterVerse franchise. Alongside veteran co-stars, the then 16-year-old more than held her own in a franchise built on colossal creatures and enormous set pieces. The night everything changed, according to the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, the crash occurred just before 3 a.m. On Tuesday, 21st July, along Windsor Road in Ejamesville, Maryland, a preliminary investigation found that a car driven by a 19-year-old man traveled off the right side of the 2-lane road and struck a culvert. Excessive speed is believed to have been a contributing factor. Kaylee was one of 2 passengers in the vehicle. The driver and the other passenger survived with non-life-threatening injuries, but Kaylee was taken to hospital, where she later died from her injuries. The crash remains under investigation by the Sheriff's Office Traffic Unit. A family A&D community in mourning Kaylee's father, Joshua Hottle, shared the devastating news himself, posting a video message in American Sign Language explaining that he was flying to Maryland after learning of his daughter's death. Her mother also shared a heartfelt tribute on Instagram, expressing what a privilege it had been to be Kaylee's mother. The Texas School for the Deaf, where Kaylee was enrolled as a senior, released a statement calling her death a tremendous loss for their entire community, and asked that Kaylee's loved ones be kept in thought during what they described as an incredibly difficult time. Tributes have continued to arrive from across the film industry and from fans of the Godzilla franchise, many of whom specifically credited Kaylee's performance as Gia with introducing them to authentic deaf representation in mainstream cinema for the very first time. Kaylee Hottle spent her short life doing something remarkable, showing the world on one of its biggest possible stages that a deaf child's voice and presence could carry every bit as much weight as any spoken line of dialogue. She leaves behind a role that will continue to introduce young deaf viewers to a character who looked and communicated like them. long after her passing. That's a legacy that doesn't fade with time.